to potentially be better quality habitat once the project is completed. Beyond the revegetation of the parcel, the standard mitigation measures are included in the assessment. There are not many other options available that would be appropriate for this property to further mitigate any impacts that construction would have. One possibility would be a scenic easement along the south side of the property in order to protect the topography there. But this is an area, this would be of limited size, and its value would be hard to qualify. Beyond the revegetation, the planning department does not have any substantial suggestions for additional mitigation. Other than that, I can answer any questions you might have.
So Tyler, since this is a large residence for a size lot, for this size lot, do you think the revegetation being offered is enough to protect the duneland characteristics?
The revegetating or proposing to revegetate a majority of what is cleared on the property. There's some areas left, proposed to be left uncleared on the west side. Not a significant area. I don't think if they added that, it would add a huge amount of value to the to the mitigation. Certainly they could, but I don't think it's a huge difference between what they're proposing and what they could potentially do.
Thank you.
I know that you said it's consistent, it meets height requirements. I was looking at the plans, and there's just a line that says height setback, but I didn't see anything that actually confirms the numbers, right?
I went through. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I went through and measured the top of that peak at that one point to grade, and it everything meets up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so this re-veg diagram that we have, you can't tell what's going where, or I can't. Are you aware of where everything's going and how much, is the total amount?
Exactly.
The total amount was like, I think, was it 2,800 square feet? I want to say the number was in that range, 2,800 square feet. I want to say is the number. But yeah, it was, I mean, they were showing a diagram of it being mixed pretty appropriately. So I think it was, Northern Bayberry, and maybe Bearberry mixed in with beach grass and things like that. It was appropriate. I didn't have any concerns. They were showing a couple of paper birch or gray birch as well. I think 6 total, which are more ornamental, but they're not non-native either. So I didn't have any issue with that.
Okay, and if it gets approved, we would want that added onto the survey, or?
I don't think it hurts to add it to the survey, maybe prior to a building permit,
Right.
to show the area.
Be a condition of
But I was
approval.
comfortable with how they showed it on the building plans to move forward to a public hearing.
Right.
I thought the information was at least displayed that we could see it.
And with the proposed pool, since there's no pool on it today, and this is a lot of redevelopment, do you have any concern about the pool?
No.
You see in your TAM, it says there was a pool approved in 1985. I assume that's long gone and.
Well, obviously that never got built.
application is-
Yeah. I mean, the footprint is expanding, the total lot coverage was getting larger, but not to the point. And again, the clearing that they're proposing, which is really, what would be the most important thing, is pretty minimal. So we didn't really have any significant concerns. The environmental impacts on the natural features on the property are pretty minimal. They're protecting that south side, which is really the area that, of the most interest, I think, on the property. And there's some clearing for the sanitary system, which will get revegetated with beach grass. So yeah, I didn't have any significant concerns.
So it looks like the clearing's being reduced by about 2,700 square feet.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Pretty significant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is obviously long been cleared as is. So any decrease is a benefit. But they're doing most of the property outside of what's, the residence itself and the structures.
Is it important? I know there's no, dune vegetation, like, the stuff that's hard to get back, right? But is it recommended to keep whatever stands on the property?
Certainly,
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
So that will be
I think it's one of the conditions. I think it's one of the conditions in this assessment.
And I guess, I'm going to want to ask the applicant. I mean, I know you're saying, I know your opinion is that, well, it's a very small easement, but to me, any scenic easement is a good easement. So I guess we should ask the applicant
Sure.
if they're amenable
Yeah, if
to
that's
it.
something the
But
board
is
was
there any
interested in.
other area?
I don't think anything
What about in the
of any
front at all?
significant value,
Yeah.
that would be worth protecting. I think really that topography at the back would be really the only place
Yeah.
of any significant value, that's worth anything.
I'm good. Any other questions?
I have no more
Thank you,
questions.
Tyler.
Thank you.
Is there anybody in the public would like to address this application? Matt, is there anybody online?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to ask the
Yes,
applicant?
please.
Agent, come on up.
The agent, yeah. So as you heard the discussion, there's not a lot of any mitigation so far that's been offered on the property. So this issue of the scenic easement to protect the rear has been recommended as a possibility. Or do you know if your client, if the applicant is amenable to establishing that scenic easement on the rear of the property?
It's hard to say. It feels like that does impose kind of a restriction that maybe isn't necessary if the dune is existing and we have to go through a process like this to, to try to get a variance for that area or something. I don't want to speak for them on that because it does, in my mind, sometimes it reduces the value of the property in some ways.
I think that's not necessarily how we would look at it. I mean, it's not unusual for this board to seek scenic easements and mitigation over an area of protected natural resources. So,
is it a requirement typically in this neighborhood?
well, it's a natural resources heavy neighborhood, whether it's wetlands or dune land. So it comes up often.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't ask you to speak for the owner, but I mean,
I looked to the house next door and
it's on the record that this has been suggested mitigation.
Okay.
So
I think whatever we can help to pass, I don't want to reduce
leave it for now.
add restrictions that may, hinder a buyer in the future or needs of the property. I'm not aware of those things. Maybe a lawyer would have a better grasp, but I'm sure they would comply with any recommendations if it was based on necessity to pass through the board's approval. We do want to update the property. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much, you guys.
We
Okay.
have a motion.
Yes.
Well, wait,
sir.
before you guys, I don't want, because I'm getting a little nervous. They didn't agree to anything, so I don't want
We
to.
agree. We agree. That
Okay.
I don't, and that's not a requirement.
Okay, I don't want this to come back and
Question,
then
Well,
it
it's
was
a
an
question.
answer.
to
I think
condition
we
the
have
approval on
question
something
and
they didn't
answer.
agree to, so we can't do that.
I mean, one board member
For a
had a
scenic
question.
easement.
Well, it's a question we
I-
often ask,
but
it's
you can
in the
ask, but
TAM
I don't-
and-
It was asked. I think we can move on. I don't think, I think the answer for me was adequate enough and not,
Okay.
Me too.
So, thank you.
That's why I said I didn't want to pursue it any further. Thanks. Okay. In the matter of Scott Alker, 70 Cliff Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-174-02-24, I make a motion to close the public hearing and the record.
Second.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Nina Rachel Lederman and Rowena Lagumbe Arguellas Trust. It's a tough one. 39 Old Fireplace Road, that's an easier one. Springs, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-24-7-45. The size and location is 11,698 square feet of 39 Old Fireplace
Getting
Road
into
in
your
Springs. The description is to demolish a portion of the existing residence, 210 square feet of decking, and remove a concrete pond, to reconstruct the existing deck, make alterations to the existing residence, and to construct a 904 square foot addition, additional decking, porch, patio steps, new roof, a 334 square foot detached garage, walkways, driveway, outdoor shower, upgraded sanitary system, associated structures, and within jurisdiction and setbacks of Title wetlands, and bluffs. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code, and 8 variances are required for this application. Variances is 73.3 feet, 34.6 feet, 25 feet, 13.3 feet, and 10 feet are required from 255-430 of the Town Code to construct the proposed decking and deck alterations, 26.7 feet, additions to the residence, 65.4 feet, patio, 75 feet, garage, 86.7 feet, and outdoor shower, 90 feet from tidal wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. Variances of 48.3 feet and 9.6 feet are required from 255-440 of the Town Code to construct the proposed decking and deck alterations, 267 feet width, additions to the residence, 65.4 feet from the bluff crest where 75-foot setbacks are required. One variance of 7.5 feet is required from 255-1172D of the Town Code. Is required to construct the addition and new roof line 7.5 feet outside the town's pyramid regulation along the northern side yard line, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A residence, zone 8E flood zone, and elevation 8 in the secret classes type 2. Council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting?
Yes, I reviewed the affidavits. Everything seems to be in order and the board has jurisdiction.
Okay. This is a photo indicating that the property was properly posted. Next, please, Tyler. This is actually, I'm walking on the south side of the property, and this is just a walkway, which is going to be reconfigured. Next, please. This is the garage that exists. The slab is on grade. I believe this is going to be rebuilt, but I think it might even be smaller than what exists there now. Next, please. This is, I think, another picture of the garage. Next, please. This is a picture of the house, and part of the addition is going to be on the west side. Some of it is going to be on the landward side, and some of it is going to be on the seaward side, and I have taken pictures in the back to indicate that. Next, please. This is just a better view. Now, to the left, to the north side of the property is where they're going to be proposing the sanitary system. Next, please. To the right, or rather to the south, that little structure you see right next to the fence is the outdoor shower that exists. Next, please. Again, I just took a picture of this because there's going to be proposed steps on this side and also a better view of where the septic system will be. Next, please. Just the vegetation that's there. Next, please. This is the rear of the house, and to the rear, they're going to be proposing, the existing deck is going to be rebuilt, and the existing deck to be rebuilt with a pergola. Next, please. This is just a view of Gardner's Bay. Next, please. This is on the south side of the house. This is an existing deck that I believe is going to be rebuilt. Next, please. This is the house to the, let me get myself straight here. This is the adjoining house, I believe would be on the south side, I think. Next, please. And this is the residence that's on the north side. I think that might be it. This is just a view of Acabonic Gardeners. And that's it. I did also take a picture of a concrete pond. Very tiny. I didn't make it into my field inspection, but I just wondered what was that all about?
I think that's what's noticed to be removed.
Yeah, but I wondered what it was even there for.
How are you,
So
Alice?
small.
Good evening, board members. I'm Alice Cooley of Matthews, Curse, Cooley, and Choron, here on behalf of the applicant, Nina Liederman and Rowena Argalis. I'm also here with Shannon McCaffrey of Due East Planning and Sherry, the architect. If there are any questions I can answer, hopefully they can answer them for you. The concrete pond, what is the purpose of that? I just couldn't tell you, but I can tell you that we're proposing to get rid of it. Before I get started, I wanted to bring a couple of housekeeping issues to your attention. We submitted a memo of law on November 21st. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review that. We also submitted today a letter from our engineer regarding the sanitary system placement, and some stating his belief that the proposed septic system is sited in the best possible location. And we also submitted a construction protocol. We have hard copies here with us tonight if you'd like them. This property is bounded by Gardner's Bay to the east and Old Fireplace Road to the west. On the other side of Fireplace Road, the property is in jurisdiction of the tidal wetlands of Accabonac Harbor. The property is fully bulkheaded, and the existing 1,251 square foot two-bedroom residence and porch sits just 25 feet from the bulkhead. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation issued a letter of non-jurisdiction because the property is bounded by over 100 feet of functional bulkhead and Old Fireplace Road, which is an improved and paved road. While the town and the DEC obviously have different requirements and policies for wetland relief, it does make sense for you to acknowledge that there is a scientific basis for why the DEC considers this project to be out of their jurisdiction. The bulkhead mitigates impacts on Gardner's Bay, and the improved roadway mitigates impacts to Accabonac Harbor. From the outset, this project was very carefully designed to be respectful of those constraints while providing a modest expansion that is in line with the surrounding properties and to improve the property for my clients and their family. Other than the practically unavoidable variance to construct an addition to the residence, every aspect of this project is an improvement to the existing conditions. Most importantly, the proposed substantial revegetation, the reduction in garage size, the sanitary system upgrade, and the much greater pyramid compliance. Furthermore, after receiving the TAM at the end of May, the applicants further reduced the proposal and made the following changes to address the concerns raised in the TAM. The applicant reduced the proposed GFA by 173 square feet, or 9.2%, for a total increase of only 422. That's pretty small, with a resulting GFA that is nearly 1,000 square feet less than what's permitted. They reduced the proposed lot coverage by 218 square feet, with both lot coverage and building coverage being well within what is permitted. Removed the proposed decking on the water side and are now only proposing to rebuild the existing decking and are reducing that overall decking by 11 square feet on the water side. They removed the proposed reconstruction of the covered roof, which you saw. They're now proposing just a pergola above the deck. Increased the proposed septic setback at the suggestion of the planning department to Accabonac Harbor to 101.6 feet, and increased the proposed revegetation by an additional 687 square feet for a total revegetation of 6,046 square feet on this pre-existing 100% cleared lot. As detailed in our memorandum of law, this project is consistent with 255-551D, preservation of natural resources. In addition to placing the proposed improvements on the most conforming location on the site, the house design is consistent with the goals contained in the New York State Department of State Division of Coastal Resources Scenic Areas of Statewide Significance, which we like to call SAS. This recommends smaller spread out additions to reduce visual impacts on the area. The SAS also states that future development should be clustered away from the shoreline, which is exactly what's proposed here. The proposal maintains the existing setbacks and reduces the pyramid encroachment. In fact, with the installation of the upgraded sanitary system, as affirmed by our engineer, there will be an improvement to groundwater quality and surface waters by reducing the level of nitrogen being discharged. And the substantial revegetation of this 100% cleared property will help intercept sediments and nutrients associated with fertilizers, and there will be a net benefit to the wetlands. I think it's important to note that the existing cesspool is over 50 years old. To this end, we note that there is no evidence in the record or the TAM that the proposed improvements would have any negative impact on the wetlands. The grant of the variances will similarly not produce an undesirable change in the neighborhood or community, and certainly will not create a detriment to nearby properties. The nearby properties will benefit from all of the changes and mitigation being offered by the applicant in the form of the reduced pyramid encroachment, significant revegetation, and upgraded sanitary system. There are no feasible alternative methods to achieve the benefit sought in lieu of the variance relief. The applicant has designed the best possible proposal while being constrained both by the pre-existing non-conforming layout of the existing improvements and the proximity to the wetlands on both sides of the property. The increase of the GFA is minor at 422 square feet, with a total proposed GFA of 1,780, greatly below the allowable 2,770 square feet. The grant of these variances will also not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. The change to the current conditions, coupled with the addition of the sanitary system, a more energy efficient and code compliant house, and the substantial revegetation will result in a net benefit. Arguably, any variances can be considered self-created, and it is for this reason that the law specifically holds that such alleged self-creation is not dispositive. Here, the need for the variance relief is not self-created, but instead stems from the inherent constraints on the property, which is why the application was designed so carefully. In short, upon completion of this project, the property will be much better for Accabonac Harbor and for Gardiner's Bay. All of the conditions are acceptable to the applicant, and I'm happy to answer any questions or turn over the mic if I can't.
I just, the concern I have is the location of the septic system, only in a sense it is kind of close to the water body. But because this is within the HPOD, is the location of the septic system the maximum practical distance? And the other part of my question is the additions as proposed are bringing the septic system closer to the harbor. So was there any thought given to a smaller addition which would allow better setbacks to the harbor?
Well, the addition was reduced greatly. It was reduced by almost 200 square feet. You know, this property is constrained, and
Yes.
the addition where it is proposed, it's well designed. It's in the only place it can really go. I mean, this is a 2-bedroom house. They're adding a bedroom. This is not a huge ask in terms of scale or gross floor area. And I think it's important to keep in mind that without an addition, there is no sanitary upgrade. There's no revegetation. These are benefits to the wetland. And to say, you know, that you would expect someone to make these improvements to a property, which our client is absolutely happy to do, and not get also the benefit of just a bedroom for their child, it's not reasonable.
The survey we have is dated September 30th, 2025. That's the latest, right? So all these reductions that you're just talking about are all reflected in the survey?
Correct.
It's in the TAM so I just want to get you on the record. So hear what you say, like the net increase in the GFA is under 500 square feet. But I know that the TAM, asks a lot about quote, sprawling nature, of so can you just illuminate a little bit more on the design choice? I know you just referenced the SAS and that there seems to be some suggestion of a kind of spread out development, but is that just explain a little more about the design choice as opposed to creating something more compact, but still giving, the expansion that would be needed?
Sure. It is consistent with the SAS, which the TAM does acknowledge, but also the design choice it's necessary on this site in order to comply with the 50% rule. Any further
out of the
to remove it from the setback. So if you have further questions on like the design itself, I think maybe Anne should answer those. I'm not an architect. But.
No, I really wasn't asking an aesthetic question. I just wanted to elaborate, your view related to a concern that was raised in the TAM.
Sure.
So.
And it complies, that's what the code is there for, to push you to comply as much as you can. And then when you cannot, when a property is burdened, that relief valve is the zoning board. And that's why we're here.
So overall, you are changing the roof line, which is reducing the pyramid, has a net effect of reducing. The new additions, they, from what I see, they don't appear to pierce any piece, so you're not adding any further pyramid variation. So from the pyramid standpoint, you're actually, even though it's, you're actually improving that, right?
correct by quite a bit. I think I have these numbers correctly. So right now on the side that's being reduced, it pierces by 17 and a half feet. And so we're reducing that down to 7.5. There is a portion that will still encroach, and then the addition does comply.
Tam asked if a FEMA assessment was done to see if the house needs to be raised.
Yeah, so what the architect did was she put a letter into the record that explained that the subfloor needs to be raised to comply with FEMA. So it's not that, the entire house has to be raised. Everything will be FEMA compliant.
It's only by like 4
Inches?
inches or something.
Yeah, it's not much. 0.2 feet.
So the question is, will it be FEMA compliant? That's the question.
Yes, it will be.
Including anything below the flood zone, mechanicals and everything like that?
Are mechanicals proposed by this?
Because that's FEMA compliance, right? So FEMA
Yeah, of
compliance
course.
includes
of course.
all of that.
I generally leave that to the architect, but yes.
I'll leave that up to. My question is, will it be FEMA compliant?
Yes, that it absolutely has to be FEMA compliant, and that is the goal.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Not me.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Tyler?
Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department again. The subject property is situated on the north side of Old Fireplace Road in Springs. The project before the ZBA is a request to make significant changes and additions to the existing residence, reconstruct the existing decking and make additions, new decking, new porch, to demolish the existing garage, construct a slightly smaller garage, upgrade the existing sanitary system, and revegetate the property after construction is completed. The parcel is located within jurisdiction and setbacks with tidal wetlands of both Gardner's Bay and Accabonac Harbor. While the scale of the project has been reduced and setbacks increased since the first assessment was written, the proposed improvements still represent fairly aggressive levels of development on a constrained property within jurisdiction of sensitive protected natural features and with minimal mitigation able to be offered to offset significant improvements. Excuse me. Old Fireplace Road and its extension Girard Drive is a fragile peninsula of land separating Accabonac Harbor from Gardner's Bay and an area of extreme environmental sensitivity. Accabonac Harbor is a New York State significant fish and coastal wildlife habitat, a component of the Peconic Estuary Critical Environmental Area, and is within the area, Accabonac Scenic Area of statewide significance. It is a resource of crucial importance to the town and provides multiple environmental and recreational benefits. The project, as proposed, will increase the size of the 1,251 square foot residence to 1,780 square feet. The design of the proposed additions with the long hallway to the bulk of the proposed additions appears to be in order to shift a portion of the additions into a conforming location, and as was confirmed, in order to comply with the 50% expansion rules. The issue that this creates is taking up the most conforming location available on the parcel for a sanitary system upgrade for the proposed addition. By shifting the additions further west on the parcel, the sanitary system is in turn then pushed even further west and closer to tidal wetlands of Accabonac Harbor. The property being within the Harbor Protection Overlay District requires that for any sanitary system upgrade on a property that the sanitary, quote, shall be set back a minimum of 150 feet from the upland boundary of all tidal wetlands, including tidal surface waters, or if that is not feasible, it shall be set back the maximum practicable distance, and continues to talk about tidal waters from there. While the project has been updated to increase the setbacks of the sanitary system, in particular from Accabonac Harbor, the applicants still need to show that the proposed location for the sanitary system is the maximum practical distance, especially when considering the sanitary system is proposed in such close proximity to the water body with less tidal exchange, which would be more impacted from the effects of sanitary system in such close proximity. The project has gone through some improvements since the Planning Department wrote our first assessment. The applicants have shifted the IA treatment tank to the north of the proposed additions and also reduced the size of the improvement slightly, which allows the leaching structures of the sanitary system to be shifted further east, even further from Accabonac Harbor. But the concerns with the additions taking up even more conforming space for that sanitary system remain. The redesign of the sanitary system is an improvement. The question for the board is, has enough been done to justify the proposed additions, which may be pushing the sanitary system closer to Accabonac Harbor than is necessary? A small, more condensed addition to the existing residence, which allows for better setbacks to Accabonac Harbor, may be more appropriate for the constraints of the parcel. Along with additions to the residence, the roof line is proposed to be changed significantly, which will result in an overall reduction in the severity of the pyramid noncompliance. The ridge of a portion of the existing roof line runs perpendicular to the side yard lot lines, which will be demolished and reconstructed parallel to those property lines, greatly reducing the pyramid noncompliance on the property. The existing roof measures 17 feet, 8.5 inches, which will be reduced with the shifting of the roof line to a maximum of 7.5 feet of nonconformity along the new proposed roof line, as noted in the relief requested. Further to the proposed additions and upgraded sanitary system, the applicant is requesting variances in order to reconstruct, reconfigure, and add to the existing porch, decking, and patios on the parcel. A portion of this decking is proposed on the seaward side, or the northern part of the parcel, in very close proximity to the bluff crest and tidal wetlands. The small changes to the seaward side of the residence are minor and appear to be in keeping with the existing improvements in that area. But any substantial changes to the seaward side of the residence would be inappropriate and counter to the proper natural resources planning and the board's past practices. But in this case, it's fairly minor changes on the seaward side. The final aspects of the project are to demolish the existing detached garage, construction a slightly smaller and slightly more conforming detached garage in order to reconfigure the existing driveway and to the new garage, and to revegetate the parcel once construction is complete. Excuse me. The proposed garage is a minor change to the parcel, along with the shift in the driveway to accommodate that new garage. The proposed revegetation should help to reduce impacts from runoff and provide some level of buffer to both wetlands on either side of the parcel. This revegetation was increased slightly in the most current revision and now includes a total of 6,046 square feet of vegetation. The pre-existing non-conforming clearing will be reduced to a conforming 5,652 square feet as a result of that revegetation. Other than that, I can answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Tyler?
Yeah, Tyler, if I'm reading the survey correctly, the distance that the IA system is from Accabonac Harbor is 101.6 feet. 150 feet is required.
Well, it's 150 or maximum practicable. There's no way for it to meet 150 foot setback because they're squeezed between two wetlands.
So that's right, 101.6, what the survey shows.
Well, what does the notice say?
Yeah.
101.6, yeah. So Tyler, do you see, given the configuration of the house, the layout of the house, has proposed a more conforming location for the IA system?
I think it could be shifted further east on the property.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, if you were to shift that addition, I mean, the addition has sort of a long hallway. Obviously, that's to keep it conforming to 50%. I don't know what the 50% numbers would be. I didn't do that. But if it needs to be reduced and shifted closer to the house, they may need more of a variance, or it may be more variance, more structure within variance jurisdiction of Gardeners Bay. But shifting that sanitary system, I think, outside of Accabonac Harbor is probably one of the most important things to have to do with this property.
With requiring a change to the layout of the house.
Right. It would have to be. Yeah.
Right. No other way.
There's no room otherwise. Yeah.
And that would provide a better setback to the home.
But this property is interesting because there's a lot of constraints on it, right? So there's not only the property size, but you've got the SOS requirements that you've addressed in the TAM and stuff like that. So what we're grasping at is, as a whole, the design of the project, was it well thought out? Is the tweaks that we're looking at worth it?
Right.
That's the question we're faced, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Would cutting off that hallway and shifting it closer, is that worth, the however many feet you get out of the sanitary system?
I just wanted to square one statement you make in the TAM with what is happening on the re-veg side. So early in the TAM, and you said it here, you talked about, you said, quote, minimal mitigation able to be offered, but we are seeing proposed 6,046
Oh,
square
absolutely,
feet of
yeah.
revegetation on a, prehistoric, pre-existing.
Yeah, no, I'm not minimizing the
So-
revegetation that's proposed.
Right,
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
are you still saying that that's minimal mitigation or no?
No, I just think that
Okay.
that's essentially all they can offer is that.
All right, I
There's
didn't.
Not much else they can offer other than that. Not that that's minimal, just that there's nothing.
That's
really
what I
else
wanted to
they-
clarify, because it seems like important mitigation.
Absolutely,
On
yes.
especially in an H pod.
Yeah, yeah, and they're ultimately they're
thank you.
eliminating a nonconformity by doing so.
Yeah.
Which is what we look to see in a, redevelopment, not a redevelopment in this case, but a significant development.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other motion? Do you have anything to add? Wait, we didn't go to public.
We didn't do
Anybody in the
anything.
public? Anybody in the public?
Does Shannon know more about the
No.
configuration of the additions?
Come on up. You'll announce yourself. Sure. Your address, and then we'll swear you in.
Hi, my name is Aaron Siegel. Our address out here is 33 Old Fireplace Road, which is the property adjacent.
Okay,
to
do you
the-
swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we are, I would actually call it the northwest to be pedantic, because kind of the waters, Gardiner's Island is the northeast. But first of all, I want to really thank the board for allowing me to speak and for all the work you do. I mean, and especially, dealing with all the complexities of modern communication, all that. But thank you. And so we have been at 33 Old Fireplace Road for about 51 years, since 1973. And that's the context. So first I wanted to say what we found to be good about the design. We really appreciate the changes to the pyramid and the roof. That's definitely an improvement which really benefits the neighbors, especially, well, both us and the neighbor to the southeast. And it's very considerate that the design team did that. We appreciate that. And the second thing we also appreciate is the revegetation, because that's obviously a contribution to the neighborhood and the community. And if this application in some form is approved, I hope that that's in the final version. The main concern we have is the scale. And people have mentioned that it has a lot of constraints. And I guess the question as a layman I would have at the end is, what does that mean if a property has all these constraints? Should it have a variance, or is it not the right project for this location? So currently we have a small cottage on a small site. The redesign is a very stretched out building, which more than doubles the length of the building. And it's a facade that both the neighbor to the south and the southeast and the neighbor to the northwest will be staring at all the time. I don't think it's the designer. I think it's the site, because the site is so narrow. So there's not much that can be done. When you add, that's the only direction to go. You can't go up. You can't go to the side. So, but for us as next door neighbors, it's a lot to look at. So I would not say that there's no detriment. Also, yes, and I'm not sure it exactly conforms to the immediate architecture of the 8 houses on Old Fireplace Road, which is the narrow stretch from Springs Fireplace to Gerard Drive. And my second concern about scale is this is a relatively rural part of the town. It's a wetlands area filled with deer, egrets, and osprey, and that kind of thing. It's not the outskirts of the village. And we're looking at a 0.3 acre lot purchased in 2021, which is situated in a very narrow stretch between the wetlands and the bay. I know there's a bulkhead that's about, 6 inches wide or a foot wide on one side, and there is a road on the other side, which obviously is needed for people to access their dwellings beyond. But it's basically in a very natural area. And the existing cottage, because it may not be, I forget the technical term, it may not be revegetated per se, but it is open green space. It has a certain scale to it on the site. When the cottage is stretched out and doubled in size, it's a different scale. So our 2 cents as a neighbor is that it needs to be scaled back. And to me, when I hear there's a lot of constraints, it means it might not be in its current form. It might not be the right project for this location. That's my, personal, frank opinion. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging in there.
Anybody online, Matt?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Okay, Alice?
Alice Cooley again for the applicant. Just a couple of quick comments. I am in agreement with Member Mehring that the proposed mitigation is substantial and not minimal. The sanitary system is the maximum practical distance. And, we do have wetlands on 2 sides. And that is why this was so carefully designed. We have our expert's opinion in the record that this is the best location. And I also just want to note for the record that as a matter of law, reliance on theoretical impacts as to the basis to deny an application does lack a rational basis predicated on substantial evidence or objective data. And if you have any other questions for me, I am happy to answer them.
I have no more questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have a
Oh,
motion.
Alice, I didn't get a chance to visit the property, but I intend to.
It's
Okay,
wide
is it
open.
Wide open?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a little boarded up at the moment.
Soggy right now.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing and record for Nina Rachel Letterman, Owens Lungum Bay Augulus Trust at 39 Old Springs Fireplace Road, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-24-7-45.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
Sure, thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving to our post-hearing decisions, we have John and Karen Wesson at 24 Washington Drive in Montauk. Size and location, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-71-2-1.2. Size and location is 48,626 square feet at 24 Washington Drive in Montauk. Description is to renovate and construct 1,658 square foot of additions onto a 2,220 square foot 2-story residence, reconstruct a swimming pool and decking, and construct 2 retaining walls on a project of land containing freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 and variances from 255-430. The following variances are requested. A variance of 31.2 feet to replace pool decking 68.8 feet from a wetland where 100 foot is required. A variance of 2.1 feet to construct in addition 97.9 feet from a wetland where 100 foot is required. A variance of 34.6 feet to construct a deck 65.4 feet from a wetland where 100 foot is required. And any other relief necessary. Zoning district is A residence. Zone X flood zone is class type 2. And this was member Johan, so but he's not here. So I think member Berger is going to kick us off.
Okay. Okay. This hearing was happened on September 30th, 2025. The agent for the project, the applicant was Tara Burke from Lighthouse Land Planning. And there was some conversation, testimony by Andy Hammer, the attorney. The documents we received at the time of the survey, the hearing, the survey dated 12/18/25. That date is wrong. It's 12/18/24. We received it on January 22nd, 2025. Jake Cushman is the planner, and the TAM was dated 9/9. We have construction protocol from TF Engineering that was received at 2/12/21. The site plan from TF Engineering also received 2/12/21. A construction protocol received on January 9th, 25, dated 11/13/24 from Scott to Bernardino and Associates. Record was left open at the end of the hearing to provide a re-veg plan and re-veg numbers for the re-veg over the new septic system. Post-hearing, we did receive the re-veg plan by Laurel Fine Landscaping dated on 10/8/25 and another memo from Lighthouse Land Planning dated 10/7/25. So we received a memo earlier for the time of prior to the hearing that we received on 9/29, also from Tara Burke of Lighthouse Land Planning dated 9/23/25 in response to the TAM. I'm going to try to quickly go over what was discussed. This is a renovation and construction of an addition of 1,658 square feet of additions to an existing 2,220 square foot residence. The additions to the house were proposed on the south and the west side, replacing an existing deck and an existing covered porch. 2.1 foot variance is required for the southeast corner of the addition. And only 6 square feet of that addition is in jurisdiction of the 100-foot line from the wetlands. The addition on the west side is replacing an existing wood deck and walkway along that side. There's a swimming pool that was in disrepair and leaking, and they were rather than try to repair the vinyl pool, they proposed to reconfigure, replacing it with a gunite pool and reconfiguring that pool and the decking around it. The new pool will increase the setback, the location of it from the wetland, from 73 feet to 77.1 feet. There's a gravel area, if you recall, that is down from the front steps, the gravel area that will proposed to be replaced by pool decking. And the total replacement of that and additional pool decking totals 970 feet, including that 265 gravel conversion, and for a net decrease of 16 square feet of pool decking. They also propose to replace the sanitary system which is on the west side of the house along Washington Drive, and that will require 2 retaining walls that no greater than 4 foot, and they're proposing to regrade on the Washington Avenue side the entire side of that road where the new septic system will be placed. They proposed revegetation in that area with native plantings and an additional 2,626 square feet of vegetation to bring proposed total clearing down to 15,205. We need a survey. New survey shows the additional revegetation prior to a building permit being granted. The applicant also agrees to an additional 16-foot scenic easement in addition to the one to add on to the one that was created back in 2019. That scenic easement will still leave the area that the nearest structure would still be 10 feet or approximately or a little bit more away from that. There's no builder contracted yet. And in post-hearing comments, the applicant sent a letter that Levin's the contractor they are working with. Hearing, the attorney for the applicant stated the board could require written notice for the start of work. With all the bottom line here for me is that I am approving this application in its entirety due to those benefits that the increased setback for the pool and all the replacements that are happening are already over assorted walkways and that exist today with the property. I do think it meets all the standards. If you want to read them out, or but what I wanted to discuss is the conversation about the contractor. That a lot of that was in response to a public comment we got from Russell Stein, who lives across the street from the intersection of the garage, and complaining about resulting traffic with all these construction projects, et cetera, during the work and all summer. In the letter from the applicant, they had some questions and answers from Mr. Lavin as to, it wasn't a promise, but basically his experiences in the past as far as traffic and number of trucks, and it appears that he will be trying the best to get that. However, I do think, along with the other improvements and the scenic easement and all that, that we should, I think Andy Hammer had a good idea about a letter from the contractor stating that giving 2 days notice or some form of notice to, I'm not sure whom, that within 2 days there's going to be a starter for the construction, and sign it and bring it into a department. I'm thinking maybe the enforcement department. I don't know, but I'd like to hear how everybody else feels about that. But there was one other public comment from Rob Friedel that was opposing the project, but that was on general basis. I think he realizes that these were improvements even on the existing variances that were in place.
Okay. We're going to revisit that conversation. Jane?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. So 3 wetland setback variances relative to the required 100-foot minimum setback are required for this application. Here's my deliberation and conclusion on each one relative to the standards. So first, the pool decking, that variance relief is requested is 31.2 feet, but that is related to the rebuilding of the existing pool deck and the pool. And although the rebuild is not exactly in place and in kind, it is very close to the existing size and position of those current structures, and they are not getting any closer to the wetland than what already exists. I believe the new pool itself will be 4 feet further from the wetlands. Overall size of the decking, I believe, is reduced about 208 by 208 feet. So I do not see granting this variance as having any incremental impact on the wetland. Secondly, the largest of the 3 variances, 34.6 feet, relief requested to construct 265 square feet of new decking walkway, basically in part is in the same spot, replacing an existing sort of awkward gravel with like wooden surrounds, a walkway. Also, this will not seem to have any meaningful incremental impact on the wetlands. And finally, with respect to the addition to living space of the house, the headline number adding 1,658 square feet or 75% GFA expansion to the existing 2,220 square feet might sound substantial. However, as it was discussed in the public hearing, the variance itself is, as I see it, is not, it's not substantial. It's just a 2.1% variance that relates, if I heard this correctly, to only 6 feet of the 6 square feet of the addition. So that's not even 1% of the new structure. The applicant indicated at this point that the bedroom count is not expanding from 4. However, in the future, this amount of additional space does leave room for meaningful increased occupancy. However, the antiquated septic system is being replaced with an IA system that I would imagine would have good capacity and obviously improve the nitrogen levels and such in the flow. For those reasons cited above, I do not see the variances as substantial. As I said, two of the 3 are replacing existing structures, so they're not really incremental or self-created. With respect to the variance for the addition, sure, wanting an addition is self-created, but the variance is de minimis. So I don't see the grant of the variance. Variances will cause an undesirable change to the neighborhood or detriment to the neighbors. The additions to the house site meet all the setbacks and are positioned where, for where there have been existing structures already. As many are aware, extraordinary redevelopment has already been trending in this area of town, the area we call Presidents. And, there's some thought that the clearing of the wild-looking, very dense vegetative area could impact character. However, the robust re-veg can offset that. And also, I think much of what's being taken out is invasive in nature. So I don't see alternatives for the 2 larger variances. Perhaps, all in, I don't think this will have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. And with respect to the NRSP, I also find the totality of the project meets those standards as already related to what I articulated for the variances. And I do also note the expansion of the scenic easement over those wetlands is important beyond what was already there. I think that's scenic easement B relative to existing scenic easement A on the survey. And the one thing I did want to ask, we did get into the record the re-veg after, right at the end, we left it open. We were not able to get the feedback from the planning department into the public hearing record, so don't really know what their view was. So it's hard for me to judge exactly, could it be more robust or not? But certainly appreciate the revegetation and the removal of the invasive. So improving this in full. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
The work proposed does not increase any pre-existing nonconformities with the exception of 2.1 feet for the second floor addition, which is minimal. It upgrades the septic system to IA, the clearing area for which is to be revegetated with native species as shown in the revegetation plan that was submitted. The applicant agrees to increase the scenic easement depicted as Area B on the Wallbridge survey dated December 18th, 2024 by, I think it was 15 feet. Mm-hmm. My only area of concern is that the construction protocol only provides for parking for a maximum of 6 vehicles, which is not sufficient to prevent workers' vehicles from being forced to park on Washington Drive. Construction is planned to start in the fall and finish by spring, which is extremely optimistic. Please note that these concerns were addressed by a letter to the board from the owners received subsequent to the hearing. The construction protocol does include a provision for silt fencing to protect the wetland from sedimentation, and all disturbed areas are to be revegetated. Other than my concerns about construction vehicle parking and likely summertime disturbance, which was a concern expressed by a neighbor who spoke at the hearing, I do not find a nexus for denial and believe the proposed work is a net gain for the town and the environment, and vote to approve this application in its entirety. I believe it does meet NRSP and standards enumerated in 255-8-50.
Thank you. Vice Chair?
Thank you. I'm not going to repeat much of what's already been said. I do agree with my fellow board members. Most of the improvements are proposed within the existing footprint of the residence. They're proposing a new IA system. the hearing was left open for submission of a re-veg plan for the area where the existing and updated septic system will be located. The revegetation area will be 2,626 square feet, making the total proposed clearing 15,204 square feet, where 20,444 square feet is permitted. During the public hearing, there was an concern about the overcrowding congestion along Washington Drive, and that has been addressed via a letter by the applicant. So I do believe that this application meets the standards for grant, and I will be approving it in its entirety.
Thank you. I agree. I don't have anything else to add. You guys covered it well. I might just add with the parking situation, I think trying to put restrictions on it or guidelines on it goes a little bit beyond our bridges. I don't know how we're gonna, how that can be enforceable. There is methods in the town for doing that. There's code enforcement, there's complaints and stuff like that. Just don't know what benefit and how that's gonna be, how that can be enforced. So that's my feeling on it. So I don't know.
Well, I brought up the
What your thought
letter
is. Yeah.
to try to avoid that, somebody having to
And the letter's on
rat them
record.
out or something. But what do we call it? A written notice of the commencement of construction. With notice to whom? That's, who would be.
But the building
Who would
permit
that
is notice. So the posted building permit is notice of construction. So I just think it's another thing of like another layer that I don't know if we should be, I don't feel we should, as a zoning board should be getting into that, but that's my feeling. So I'll let you guys decide.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I don't know how we would enforce that.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Next, we have Margaret and Richard Hurst at 16 Dune Lane. And
Let me interrupt. The re-veg plan, you can still leave that as a condition.
That's correct. And approvable by plan.
Yeah, approval by the planning department, yeah.
Yes.
Margaret and Richard Hurst, 16 Dune Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-176-4-8, and size of location is 12,375 square feet at 16 Dune Lane. Hampton Dunes, Lot 52, filed August 17, 1966, is map number 4694 in Amagansett. The description is to allow a 962 square foot deck, 290 square foot woodwalk, and outdoor shower to remain within wetland setbacks. Relief sought of 3 variances of 78.5 feet, 43 feet, and 30.8 feet pursuant to 255-430 of the East Hampton Town Code are needed to allow the deck to remain 22 feet, outdoor shower to remain 57 feet, and a wood walk to remain 69.2 feet from the wetland where 100 foot is required and any other relief necessary. Zoning district is B residence, X flood zone, 0.2% annual chance of flood hazard, AE 10 in the secret class is type 2. Mary?
Thank you. Okay, the public hearing was held on October 21st, 2025. Andy Hammer of Biondo and Hammer spoke on behalf of the applicant. Tara Burke of Lighthouse Land Planning was also present, but I don't believe she spoke. No comments from the public were made either in person or in writing in connection with the public hearing. And we were working off the survey from Gary Benz dated January 28, 2025, and the TAM was prepared by Morgan Slater. At 12,285 square feet, this lot is pre-existing undersized substandard to be residence minimum area by 39%, but that sort of substandard sizes, as this board knows, is quite common in this area, this neighborhood, and in fact, there are a lot more lots that are less than 10,000 feet, well, not more than anyway, but there are a lot of lots that are a lot smaller. The house itself is sized at just over 1,500 square feet, modest, and I believe that house dates back to, I can't remember if you said the construction was in 1966 or that was the date of that the lot was created. The coverages are well below maximums. I think they're in the range of about 40% below maximum allowables. The last and only CO on record dates to 1967. Well, yeah, that would mean the house was built in 1966. And that CO covered the house and a smallish 312 square feet of at-grade decking that attaches right to the to the rear of the house. The entirety of the house and the original deck were built prior to environmental natural resource protection codes. And I think the whole thing, and most of the property is within the required wetland setback area. The parcel has some meaningful topography, and as was not uncommon in this neighborhood back then, the house itself was actually built on top of a meaningful dune structure. In addition, the property to the rear, right off the portion of the area of the deck that's in contention in this application, we see a rather steep drop off that goes right down into the wetlands described in the TAM. The elements of this application that are seeking relief, specifically the wood walkway on the north side and around towards the back of the house, the additional 962 square feet of decking that attaches to the area that was CO'd and extends back towards the east, as well as the elements and structures that the applicant is proposing to remove, were all built without the benefit of a building permit and were not part of any CO. It remains unclear where the septic system is on the property, and that was I just raised that because that was something that was flagged in the TAM, but we didn't explore that during the hearing. Though the aerials are not clear enough to pin down when that significant deck extension was added, there were written affidavits, 2 of them submitted to the record from 2 relatives as to their recollection that deck, that extended deck existed in 1984, as well as there was a 1983 letter from Bud Hirsch to his builder who owned the property at the time that indicated its presence in 1983. Getting to the decisions, with respect to the 30.8-foot variance for the wood walkway that leads from the driveway steps to the front door and moves towards the rear of the house, I will vote to approve that. It is a narrow, low-impact structure that provides proper, needed access to the house itself. I don't think it would be right to demand only a dirt or sandy path to the front door. This is the smallest of the 3 required variances. It's just over the 25% level that we often think of becoming more of a substantial variance, but it's still moderate, and the position is dictated by the house itself. And I think we've already established that pretty much most of the house is non-conforming to wetland setbacks. So I don't think there's an alternative that could eliminate or remove that. And it doesn't have an impact on character. It doesn't cause a detriment to the neighbors, as I see it. It's not necessarily self-created. And I note that the proposed removal of the brick patio along the west front facade of the house could be seen as some mitigation relative to granting this variance. With respect to the outdoor shower, I am also going to approve that 43-foot variance to allow it to remain in its current and likely longstanding location tucked under an existing second-story small deck. An outdoor shower is a very common feature across the Beach Hampton lots, and many of them were established long ago at the time the original houses were built before zoning. It could be moved to perhaps the area where the small shed on the south side of the property that's going to be removed. However, though it might improve the setback by maybe another 10 feet, on the flip side, it also reduces the amount of dune land re-veg that can be accomplished and has been offered in that area. So the existing shower appears to be sitting on sand at a topography well above the wetlands to the rear. So I cannot establish a meaningful environmental detriment necessarily to the wetlands. And I find that the benefit to the applicant of leaving it in place probably likely outweighs any environmental improvement from moving it. With respect to the 3rd requested variance, this is indeed very substantial at 78.4 feet. It's required to leave the unpermitted 900 plus square feet of deck extension in place relative to the wetlands. But I do see a path to approve that variance based on some very constructive discussion that we had in the meeting, with some specific mitigating conditions. During the public hearing, we had a very constructive discussion with the applicant's agent, Andy Hammer, about addressing the conditions of the dune land around the property that has been somewhat degraded over time by the replacement of sandy areas and native dune vegetation replaced with more ornamental plantings, as well as just a lot of mulching and irrigating that really degrades natural dune land. We also had a constructive exchange with how to better protect the most vulnerable part of the property, that steep topography indicated on the survey, that it has native vegetation that drops right down into the wetland area. The applicant's agent was very amenable to restoring dune land and dune vegetation around several areas of the property. And he did also was amenable to establishing, even if it's small, a scenic easement to the rear part of the property to protect that area that's closest to the wetland and the significant topography. As I balance the variance and the NRSP standards with these non-conforming structures, I believe this mitigation can very much improve the environmental and natural resources conditions on the property. And so based on those conditions, I will approve most of the deck extension, I guess contingent upon establishing a scenic easement. And I think he talked about, perhaps a 5-foot buffer created between the rear of the deck. So that might mean shaving off 5 feet from that very rear of the deck, which would still mean a variance of about 73 feet. But as I said, I think the benefits to the conditions on the property would be very important. So I am approving the application in full with these conditions that I believe the applicant was amenable to.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, I agree with most of that narrative. I too feel the existing walkway leading to the house, the entrance of the house, and I guess I agree with everything except the last one. I think the 78.5-foot variance for that deck that was added additionally, 962 square foot deck, is outrageously, it's big. It's very big. And I think that while I'm denying that variance, I know there was discussion about a scenic easement, but I think it was also contingent that we have a variance that the 10-foot of structures, that we would give a variance on that doesn't have to apply. But I think that this project would be better done with cutting back that deck to where it was originally, and then doing some revegetation in the area that gets cleared up from that out to the wetland. So I agree with approving all the other items on the list, but that one I am going to deny. I don't think it meets the NRSP standards or the variance standards from the wetlands.
Thank you, John.
I agree that the walkway makes sense. It serves a purpose, and that removing it would probably cause additional disturbance. I'm not clear about the deck, and the deck, as it's outlined, is not clearly depicted in the survey. When you talk about the deck extension, you're talking about the new.
You can see where it was redone.
Is that what we're talking about, or is it?
Yeah.
Is the variance being requested for the entire deck, the entire rear deck? That's my understanding.
Well, the 78.5 because they measure from the closest point.
Yeah, I understand that. But if you look at the existing conditions picture, you see that clearly there are 2 decks there. There's an older wooden deck, and then this new deck that doesn't have a railing. So when we're talking about granting the variance, is it for both decks or just the extended?
Because if you look at the survey, the deck with the red lettering on it.
Yeah, but those dimensions don't make sense though.
No, but it was CO'd. It was CO'd in 1967.
The wooden deck. So it's this new deck that's
Extension.
raised that we're talking, which I agree with Member Berger, is it's a 78% of variance. It's huge. And I don't like it. And I just don't like it, but
But you know what? We can't deny on we don't like it.
Yeah.
So we have to have a reason for denying it.
That's the
So you have to go
sixth
through it.
yeah. Well, weighing the conditions that were offered by the representative, Andy Hammer, revegetating areas that are to be cleared, revegetating areas that are currently mulched, revegetation being required prior to the issuance of a building permit. So I, with those conditions, can agree to the walkway and the deck. But what I wanted to ask the fellow members of the board about was their feeling about the outdoor shower. I agree that the footprint of it is exactly under an existing second-story deck, and that moving it to the south side of the house will interfere with revegetation in that cleared area. Will the wetland benefit from a dry well underneath that deck shower? That's the only open question I have.
And they did offer that,
They did, yeah. Andy did offer that.
to keep the.
Yeah, so
He said it could probably be done, if he pushed back a little bit on its efficacy, but he said it could be
he
done.
did. He said it's a high water table there, and
No, it's not high water table, because it's out for the elevator.
I'm trying to remember that shower being over part of the walkway. Isn't it only blue dots?
no, it's
underneath
directly
the
under the
shower?
corner of the house.
Yep.
It's under the corner, yeah, but it's not directly in the sand either.
No, it's not. It's over the deck.
It's over the other deck.
Yeah. So I'm okay with conditioning my approval for the deck and the walkway contingent upon the revegetation plan, revegetating the mulched areas, and the shower contingent upon dry well.
I'm sorry, but you're denying the bigger deck in the back. You were talking about the walkway.
Well, no, that's what is before us, is that new deck. The deck in the back requires a variance of 78
So
feet.
I'm sorry.
So I'm approving it,
Oh, you're
approving it?
condition on the revegetation.
On the mitigation.
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay. My turn. Okay. I mean, the deck has been on the property for 40 years, and I do agree with the agent that removing it could be more detrimental and destructive. And there's really no evidence in the record that it's had any impact on the wetland. And I think the activity being controlled on these existing features, like the decking and the wood walkway, in my opinion, are protecting the vulnerable vegetation. The outdoor shower, I mean, it could be in a more conforming location, but maybe if we offered to put in shallow dry wells, I'd be okay with it, but it's not, my approval is not contingent on that. I don't have a problem with the outdoor shower. They're all also proposing to remove certain unpermitted multiple structures like the shed, walkway on the south side, brick patio on the west side of the residence, and fencing. And these areas should be revegetated with beach grass. I think there's been enough mitigation offered for me to feel comfortable granting the NRSP and variances. And I do agree with you, Member Mehring, that another strong feature would be the establishment of a scenic easement. So that's how I'm voting.
Thank you. I too agree with approving this application contingent on the mitigations that were discussed. I don't think I have much more to add to that. I think we covered it, so.
I think so.
All right, so I'm gonna go through this one.
Okay.
So, is everybody,
I'm
we have a
approving the whole
three- We have, everybody's approving except for member Berger is not approving the larger deck.
Right.
accept, and then with conditions, are we doing do we want a dry well
Do
or
we?
something for the outdoor shower or no?
He offered
I don't know.
He offered it. I mean, the agent actually offered it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we can-
why not?
It's not a driveway.
Okay.
They're easy to put in.
And then the re-veg, obviously, and the last, the scenic easement, what exactly is this?
Can we point out that there's a
Somewhere.
topo line? Here, may I have this?
Yeah,
Sorry. So if you, the rest of you can tell me, but there's the 12-foot topo line,
Mhm.
right? So from there to the edge of the property. Correct. That would be my view. Now, again, if we wanted to create a 5-foot buffer, I think they'd be amenable to take, from what I heard Andy say, would be amenable to cutting a little bit of that deck back, so it's just not right on top of it, but, sorry, that just seems like the best place to.
You can't have it go from the 12.
Why?
Because the deck's right on the 12.
Well,
And you
okay.
have, you're supposed to have 10 foot.
okay, but
See to keep.
we offered 5 and we can do that, so.
But I don't think we can create another nonconformity, right? An easement does have a required setback.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, is it,
In the past has established easements with structures in the setbacks.
okay,
And I think we just have to make it clear with,
It remain and be reconstructed or whatever.
yeah, you have to make it, there had to be some sort of language, that, okay, the scenic, it doesn't, you don't have to comply with the 10-foot setback to scenic easement. I think it's,
Okay.
yeah. So, yeah, I think we can condition it that it,
and then we would need a re-veg
yeah.
plan.
Re-veg plan.
Because he did agree, like, a lot of those areas, like along the north side, in those beds that have been created, and I think they are willing to do some nice restoration, so that plan should be conditioned.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm denying that 78.5.
Okay, so we're adding a scenic easement as a condition.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and again, it was, I think, well discussed on the record, so.
Yeah, I don't,
Okay, next we have 621 Lazy Point LLC at 621 Lazy Point. Size and location is 232,638 square feet at 621 Lazy Point, Bay Woods, Napeague. Lot 3, map number 9536, filed July 4th, 1994, in Amagansett. The description is to construct a 720 square foot addition, 600 square foot garage with an adjacent storage room, a 158 square foot covered porch, and a 7,200 square foot tennis court on a parcel of land containing freshwater wetlands, tidal wetlands, buried dunes, beaches, and surface water. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 and a variance from 255-440 coastal setbacks of the East Hampton Town Code. A variance of 16 feet is required to construct the addition 134 feet from the primary dune crest, where 150 feet is required in any other relief necessary. Zoning district is A2, 8E flood zone, elevation 10, request type 2. Member Mayor?
Thank you. The public hearing for this application was held on October 21st, 2025. We closed both the hearing and the record at the end of that public hearing. The applicant was represented by Richard Whalen of Whalen Filer. Via a submission to the public hearing file on October 16th, 2025, including an updated survey dated October 15th, 2025, which was that submission updated the lot area for the purposes of the dimensional calculations. That lot area was restated at 157,285 square feet, correcting it from the prior representation of 92,857 square feet. The smaller number had been based, it seems, on an erroneous exclusion of the scenic easements from the lot area. This changed the coverage and clearing ratios as we discussed them during the hearing. In particular, the proposed clearing percentage was corrected to 20.6% versus a previously shown 35% of the lot area. The revised greater lot size also had the effect of increasing required side lot line setbacks for the residents to 35 feet from 30 feet, meaning that the existing house, which already has a CO, is actually 1 foot out of setback compliance. But it means, more importantly to this application, that the 720 square foot proposed addition to the front of the house that lines up with that eastern side of the house will require a 1 foot setback variance if we're to approve it, which, though not noticed directly for public hearings, certainly falls into the category of any other relief necessary. The property owner was in attendance, as was the architect Thierry Pfister. The TAM was written by Sarah Lewis. Again, no members of the public offered comment in person or in writing to the record, though Mr. Whalen mentioned that the neighbor to the east had wanted to ensure that a full vegetated buffer would remain around the proposed additions, which Mr. Whalen assured us would happen. In my field report, one of the things I did confirm, and I thought was important to the overall stewardship of this property and what's being proposed, I did confirm the very robust and strong conditions of the 2 important and large scenic easements on the property. All right, the proposed additions are basically divided into 2 parts. On the northern part of the lot, on the landward side of the existing house, the applicant is proposing, as we said, a 730 square foot addition. I think the footprint of it is 600 square feet, which will include 2 new bedrooms that's attached directly to the front of the easternmost section of the house. A 600 square foot detached garage is proposed. Again, that will be further landward of the house. And in between those 2 elements will be, I think, a sunken garden. All these proposed additions are to be done in already disturbed areas, some of which is gravel and some of which is highly, fully vegetated, but mostly with ornamental and non-native veg. Of these 3 elements, only the house addition requires a variance, a 16-foot or 10.6% setback variance to the primary dune crest for the addition, as well as we just said 1 foot or 3% side yard setback, just discussed a moment ago. I also wanted to confirm that I heard this the way the other board members. I think Mr. Whalen said the addition was not an NRSP jurisdiction, but we can come back to that because I got a little confused by that. Okay, so I'm going to approve the variance for the house addition. As noted, it's not substantial in magnitude at around 10%. Variance, the decision to do an addition could be viewed technically as self-created. However, it can be seen more broadly as not self-created because the entirety of the house is within the 150 foot dune crest setback. Placing the addition landward of the existing house likely means the variance requested is the minimum necessary. This 600 square footprint represents an 18% increase in GFA on the existing house, and on a lot greater than 5 acres, the total new house size will remain well below maximum allowables. Also, the addition is, as mentioned, is going to be built in already disturbed areas. The addition, as I see it, will have no detrimental impact to character of neighborhood, as it can't really be seen from any road or by a neighbor or even from the beach. And given that a strong vegetated buffer will be maintained, likely no detriment to the direct neighbors. So I don't see any environmental or physical harm being created by the granting of the variance. The second part of the application is to build a tennis court sort of in the southernmost quadrant of the parcel. This meets all the required lot line and wetland setbacks and needs no variance, but does require an NSP being in wetland jurisdiction. The court is proposed to be sized at 7,200 square feet, and the total clearing for this addition is presented as only modestly 7% greater than the tennis court itself at a total of 7,700 square feet. I'm going to approve the NRSP required for this. No doubt, 7,700 square foot of clearing to take place in a fully wooded part of the lot made me take a little pause, but to assess it in a broader context, that 7,700 square feet represents 4.9% of total lot area. Also, the clearing beyond the court, as we said, is proposed to be minimized to the extent possible. It doesn't put into jeopardy the extensive scenic easement or put into jeopardy the protected natural feature wetlands just north of where this will go on the property. Character is not an issue as this is a large lot subdivision. The court is positioned very far from other improvements on the surrounding properties. It will not be lit at night, as they said. And overall, I don't see this addition of a tennis court as creating material degradation or put at risk natural features, protected natural resources on the lot. A lot in excess of 5 acres can reasonably be said to adequately accommodate this amenity. So I'm approving the application in full. It's in the TAM, but we want to make sure the tree felling seasonal restrictions will be a condition won't be lost in the shuffle, and that I think it would be nice to covenant the no lighting on the tennis court if possible. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary?
Okay, well, I agree with my fellow board member on this one. In its entirety, I think the well thought out project. The 16-foot variance to construct the addition is minimus. It's 134 feet from the primary dune crest. The 1-foot side yard variance was already discussed. There was an error in something in the survey for the addition. And the tennis court also, I'm approving the NRSP for that. That is the NRSP from the freshwater wetlands. And the scenic easement is the big benefit on that for me. And I think it will, it meets the NRSP standards with that and the protection that'll be afforded to the rest of this property on the south side. And that's the only variance.
Well, I also meant to say I approve the 1-foot variance for the side yard setbacks, or I didn't see it. So that would be 3 variances, right?
No, I approved this. I think it meets all the standards. I think, the additions and the redoing of some of the garage, it's all landward of the house. So I think it meets all the standards mentioned and the NRSP.
John?
I'm in agreement with my fellow members and their exhaustive review of the application. The conditions that were mentioned in the TAM, I assume will make it to our approval, which are project limiting fencing, sediment control, the residents to have leaders and gutters directing stormwater to appropriately sized catchment basins, an IA sanitary system in the approved location, and then no tree cutting for the protecting the long-eared bats was specifically proposed by Sarah Lewis to be restricted between March 1st and November 30th. I really like the idea of adding a covenant to for no lighting for the tennis court. But as I approve the application in some time.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. I won't go through the numbers of corrected lot area numbers because Member Mehring already addressed that. She also addressed the clearing discrepancy being not 35% of the lot, but 20.6% of the lot. I don't know. One of the things I think it's worthy to note that this board, in its wisdom, and Member Berger and Roy Deline were on this. In 2021, I thought this was very impressive. They approved the installation of pressure equalization modules to reduce beach erosion. And and of course, this means that every year the beach is being monitored to see the results. And the results of the latest monitoring survey indicate that the PEMs continue to stop the erosion completely and have further increased the amount of sand volume towards the back and midpoints of the beach while continuing to advance the vegetation line at the project site as compared to the baseline conditions in 2001. So I think that's very impressive. The proposed house addition, garage, septic system, and tennis courts are all within building setbacks from property lines and scenic easements. And additionally, these structures are entirely out of wetland 100% setback, and that the house is more than 130 feet from the nearest dune crest. I feel this design has actually been implemented to protect the environment. That this is a very well planned out project, and I'm going to be granting this application in its entirety.
Thank you. I too agree that this is a well thought out project. I'll approve it as well. Interesting note that those PEMs on the beach, there's a pilot program.
I know.
So it's really interesting.
It's very impressive when I read that, the data on that. It's amazing. It's a really good decision back in 2021.
I think that's got one more year left, right? Yeah, it was a 5-year project.
And what, can it be extended?
Sure, it could.
Again,
We might remember to do that because it's working.
All right, we're going to move on to minutes of approval. We're going to put off that other decision. What?
Okay.
One question I have, sorry, is I had two people say about the covenant for the lighting. What about?
Oh,
Yeah, yes.
can we
Well-
enforce that? I mean, if
Yeah,
we can,
They
can
said
we?
it wasn't going to be lighted.
Can we enforce that?
Yeah,
that
I
in
mean, well, you could ask them to have a covenant, but they won't have lighting. I mean, as far as enforcement goes, that's going to be, you're not going to be the one enforcing.
I know, I thought that was more nights, AR, I don't know.
It would be more just in the future, they couldn't put lights up.
Right.
They said they're not going to put lights up, but it would
Right.
be more for someone down the.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then did we clarify, did the house extension need an NRSP? I thought Rick said somehow it was out, but I just want to make
Said
sure I'm
no,
approving it.
it didn't.
Put off this decision.
Whatever, but I would, if it needed NRSP, I would approve it. So, just so we're clear for the record.
Okay, so we have the draft minutes of November 18th, 2025.
Make a motion to approve the draft minutes for November 18th, 2025 for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second,
Concur?
Concur.
Concur. Thank you. We move on to resolutions. We have Anna Kanger at 60 Osprey Road, Namagansett, subject map number 300-131-7-3.
I'm recused from this, sorry.
I'll quick do it. This is a application. There was a denial by the board, unanimous denial. And I'm going to make a motion in the application of Anna Kanger, 60 Osprey Road, Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-131-7-3 to approve the resolution as written.
Second.
Concur?
Concur.
Recused.
Thank you. We have Waterview 3 LLC at 232 Westlake Drive, Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-12-4-29.
Who is that?
Okay, well, it was Ed's, but it's
Oh, okay.
Montauk, so, you all remember this. Now, I saw the final, was everybody okay with that final modification with that very detailed description of the lines?
I had sent another question earlier to Charlie if it needed to, I can't remember if what we wanted it to actually be described as a buffer as opposed to just a revegetation. I was trying to remember.
I
that.
thought it was just revegetation.
I think it was kind of, it was at the public hearing, it was more of a buffer.
I remember a buffer.
Yeah.
Okay.
The public
I
hearing,
clearly
I think
remember
people
a
kind of just
buffer.
talked about the re-veg portion of the buffer at the,
Clearly
so
remember.
I put it as a buffer. in
You
the-
did make
I
it, okay.
updated it
You
at,
correct, that
yeah, and I
was
sent
in
it
the
out.
last one? Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
And Sam has the most recent one.
So for Waterview 3 LLC, 232 Westlake Drive in Montauk, tax map 300-12-4-29, make a motion to approve the resolution as written.
Second.
Concur.
Concur?
Concur. Next, we have Savina Delamata, modification at 41 Gardens Drive, Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-174-4-7.
Okay, so we received a saying this right, we received a request to modify again to state that we were approving an NRSP for the reclamation and rehabilitation of the wetlands. So that is reflected in this modification. So, in the matter of Silvina Delamata modification, 41 Gardeners Drive, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-174-4-7, I make a motion to approve the modification as written.
Second.
Concur.
Concur. Thank you. We next have Kez LLC at modification 23 East Lake Drive, Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-20-2-12.
Charlie, when did you send that one out? Is it last week already?
What's the day?
Oh, it was yesterday? I don't remember seeing that one.
It's a modification,
Looked
right?
okay.
Or which one? The Kez? Oh. the
Yeah,
Kez one? No, I
Kez.
sent that last week.
Okay, then I think I did read it. Okay. Thank you. All right, so you remember this, it was, to lower, actually it lowered some of the variances and of this development, and they rearranged some of the structures. So the Kez LLC modification at 23 East Lake Drive, Montauk, tax map 300-20-2-12, and make a motion to approve the modification as written.
Second.
Concur.
Concur. Thank you. We have Alexander Charles McDonald at 123 Harbor Boulevard in Springs, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-95-6-12.2.
The project description was to allow a first-story addition to remain 13.8 feet and slate pavers to remain 14.7 feet from the rear yard lot line where 15 is required. I believe this was a unanimous approval, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the determination as written.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
Concur. Thanks. We next have Surf Club at Montauk, 20 Surfside Avenue, Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-49-6-21.
Okay, and if you recall, this was minor variances on 3 different units at the Surf Club, which are already over improved areas for all 3. So for the Surf Club at Montauk at 20 Surfside Avenue in Montauk, tax map 300-049-06-21, make a motion to approve the resolution as written.
Second.
Concur.
Concur. Thank you. Vice Chair, we're going to ask for an adjournment and then to go to an executive session to discuss a legal matter.
Okay, I'll do 2. I'd like to make a motion first to make a motion to adjourn the ZBA meeting on December 2nd, 2025 at 9:20 PM.
Second. Oh, concur.
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 I'd like to also make a motion to go into executive session for the discussion of a legal matter.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.